Okay, so welcome back, and today we're going to go into part 2, which is clarity. And for those of you who have this book here, is it time for you to get out of the rat race? It's a little story book, but it's also a catalog of some of our products in it and all this. But step 2, or clarity, is a very important part of the lesson plan. And so far you should have played the game. You should have gone through 4 lessons and played the game 4 different times. Step 4 is a very important part. That's where you're challenging other people. Now, if you're the big loser out there and you still haven't won your game, keep going at it. Because as I said, in the real world, on the streets, it's winners and losers. And the reason it's so easy to be rich is most people aren't playing to win. Majority of the people are playing not to lose, which is just trample them and keep going, So anyway, all 4 should be finished in clarity. I'd like to explain why clarity is the next step. By this time, after playing the game the 4 times, it's not the easiest game to learn. And each time you play it, you should be getting another aha, another distinction, another clarity, another idea in your head. Because embedded inside the cash flow game and the financial statement here are literally millions of little lessons that the mind can assemble for themselves and add to your financial IQ. So the reason clarity is important is suddenly you can see. As you know, we have a left brain and we have a right brain. And generally speaking, unless you're left-handed, the left brain is generally for reading, writing, arithmetic, logic. The right brain is more pictures and creativity. So the reason we created the game was to integrate both the right brain and the left brain. And there's a lot of people who are so left brain dominant. A lot of times they're accountants and attorneys. They're really interesting people. Or, I went to school with this guy who was a certified genius, Robbie. But the guy was the most incompetent person. He didn't know a left-handed baseball glove from a right-handed baseball glove. And today he sits on a mountaintop looking at stars. So it's no doubt he's a genius, but he's a social introvert. He just has no social skills. So anyway, we have a left brain and a right brain, and a game incorporates both of them. So one of the reasons I say clarity is important is because years and years ago, I was playing this game here when I was just 9 years old with my rich dad. It's a game called what? Monopoly. Fabulous, fabulous game. One of the best games I've ever played. I love playing this game. And the reason it's so good is because I've been playing this game for hours and hours, and then I'd go home to my poor dad, the school teacher, and he'd say, "What you been doing all day?" "I've been playing Monopoly." "Well, you're wasting your time. Put that stupid game away and do your homework so you can get a good, safe, secure job." Then I go back a few days later to see my rich dad, and he would say, "Okay, break out Monopoly." So being 9 years old, and both men were not rich or successful at the time, they were just young fathers. I didn't know which guy to listen to. But something started to happen when I got more clarity in my life, is as my rich dad used to explain, this is the cash flow quadrant. My rich dad explained that there's 4 people that make up the world of business. They're employees, self-employed, small business specialists, like consultants and all this, big business, and investors. So what happened by playing the Monopoly is by having more clarity, being able to see. I could see that I did not want to grow up to be an employee or a specialist. Not because they're good or bad. It's just that it wasn't exciting to me. I just found it kind of boring. The thought of going, I looked at all the guys who are going to work every day and go, man, I don't want to do that. It didn't seem interesting. And S stands for smart, and as some of you know, I flunked out of school twice because I couldn't write. Now I did graduate and do have my college degree and all that, but I'm not smart. I am not what they consider academically smart. I have high SATs, but I just don't do well in the classroom for some reason. So I do better outside doing other things like this. So the clarity part, when you look at this here, when I was about 9 or 10, somewhere along the line, I was clear on what I was going to do. I wasn't going to be on this side. I was going to be on this side here. Does that make sense to you guys here? Yes. And so one of the programs for the Rich Dad company is, it's not that one side is right or wrong. All we're saying today is that today you need at least 2 quadrants. If you're an employee and you're putting your money in a 401k, which is a suicide mission, more power to you. But after 1974, when the big corporations said we're no longer going to take care of employees, they formed the 401k, which is, in my opinion, one of the worst investments possible that you could, is the most inefficient. Now, if you have no financial education, great, have a 401k. But if you want higher returns with less risk, you need more financial education. And that's very simply our position here. So today a person can be an E and an I. And some people can be S's and be I's. And what I am is I build companies. The definition of a big business is 500 employees or more. So I have several companies with 500 employees or more, but I still invest. I don't just count on my business. And today I have income coming from here and income from here. The reason it's called the cash flow quadrant is very simply by saying, where does your cash flow come from? If you're getting your cash flow from a paycheck, you're an employee. If you're getting your cash flow from fees or by the hour or by the job, then you're probably an S. If you're getting your income from, growth of your stocks and stuff like this, then you might be a B. I've taken 3 companies public now. And then I is, where does your income come from there? Unfortunately, most people with a 401k, they have no income. All they have is outgo. And they have outgo for 40 years, hoping and praying there's something there at age 65. Does that make sense, you guys here? And my bet is it's not, today you'll find out why it's probably not going to be there. Or not enough is going to be. There'll something be there, but it might not be enough for people. So that's really the clarity on the whole thing. So the Rich Dad Company is for people who want to move from this side to one of these quadrants here. Also what we support is small business people growing into big business people. So this side is entrepreneurship, this side is investing, this is job security, and this is hard work here. S stands for suicidal, because I always laugh at my S's, that my accountants and my attorneys, because if they become successful, the only problem is they get more busy. Do you know what I mean? They have to work harder, and they have to work harder. And over here, if you work harder and make more money, the government taxes you more. And over here, I can work harder, by working less, make more money, and pay substantially less taxes. So that's why it's clarity. Step 2 is clarity, and it's part of my little book there. But it's how, for people who want to move from here to here, and that's the difference. If I could support, we have a coaching program. By this point, you should know what you want to do. We have a program called Rich Dad's Coaching. And for most of the people that sign up for the coaching program is they want to make some changes in their life. Because these changes are fairly deep changes. So, an employee, again, the problem is you have to keep working harder and move higher in taxes. But the difference is, the reason we support coaching is the changes are very core changes, a lot of it emotional. An employee will always say the same words, whether the president or the janitor, I'm looking for job security. I want a safe, secure job with benefits. And an S will always say in the same words, if you want it done right, do it by yourself. That's why they don't make it to here. Because they get busier and busier, they get raised their race, get raised in the race, but all they do is work harder and pay more in taxes here. And these mindsets are completely different here. These are capitalist class people here. They have people working for them and they have money working for them. And their income comes from that. So they can stop working, the income still keeps coming in. These people cannot stop working, and there's a very big difference. So coaching supports that transition. Anyway, going further about clarity on how I could see better, was when you look at this here comes from this. So here I was 9 years old, looking at this thing, and then it didn't make much sense to me. I go, what is this, And pretty soon began to understand that it was, as you can tell, you get the camera on this, there's 4 greenhouses and 1 red hotel, And about 9 or 10, I went, oh my goodness. And this wasn't just a game. And my rich dad actually showed me physically by walking around what were his 4 greenhouses. What my poor dad said, your rich dad is a slumlord. I said, well, he's actually a low-income provider, things like this. My rich dad and my poor dad did not get along. So I saw the formula. I said, this is it. So what you're seeing in my hand is one of the major formulas for great wealth. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. That's all you have to do to be rich. You don't need to go to Harvard, Wharton, all that stuff. That's all you really have to do. So as a kid, with my rich dad's teaching, I began to realize it looked like this. That's this here. Assets, liabilities, income, expense. And what I saw these green things doing, this went this way. And this is called cash flow. And once I got that distinction, I went, So that means my assets work for me, so I don't have to work for my assets. And that was like crystal clear to me. So I had this major breakthrough while playing this game. I went, oh my God, I can be rich. You know, I was born poor. You know, and not that we're financially poor, we're mentally poor. We'll never be rich. I'm a school teacher. You think money grows on trees. The rich are crooks. You know, they're bastards and all the other things like this. But suddenly I saw this and said, hey, it's nothing to do with the rich or poor. It's that I have to make that determination in my life. Do I want to be rich or poor? So Monopoly showed me that one step, if I could work that step. So that's why clarity was knowing that I wasn't going to follow in my poor dad's footsteps, which was to be an employee, or my mom's wishes for me to be a doctor. I knew at that point that I was going to be an entrepreneur and an investor. That's what I knew. So at the age of 9 or 10, I saw it. But that caused some problems because I realized then the current educational system wasn't going to get me there. The current education system was getting me here, but not here. So the Rich Dad Company supports people going over here. Does that make sense to you guys here? So would you take 1 minute, discuss that, and then we'll get back to the lesson, okay?